Look what you did, you little jerk!
What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy. You're watching the Circle of Jerks podcast, the only podcast that has 100% guaranteed to protect you from coronavirus. It's been a while since we had a full complement here on the podcast, but let's go around the horn and reintroduce you to some folks. Now, of course, we have the homeboy Rob.
Yo, I'm not
Professor
hosting.
James.
What bizarro universe is this?
I don't know. It's Oh yeah, whatever. Okay, it's just because Rob's not in the hosting seat. That's why he's kicking up a fuss like usual, like a little girl. But anyways,
is this even a podcast?
Yes, as I explained to Robert countless times when he didn't host, yes, it still counts as a podcast. But like I was saying, we have Professor James. And we got Matt, and kind of the guest of honor for tonight is our buddy Albert.
Hey, we got 3 black belts in this podcast,
And to tonight's or this episode's topic is coronavirus, and I think out of all of us here, Albert is has been most affected by it. Given that he was supposed to get married this year, but because of the outbreak, the plans got pushed back. I believe it was a year, right?
Yeah, it's been pushed back twice actually. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because it was supposed to be because it got pushed back to this month, right?
Yeah, so it got pushed back in. So first it was April. The original.
Right, that was the original.
And then it got pushed back to August 15th, and now it's July.
Right, next year.
Yeah.
Yikes!
Wow. I know. I remember because you were texting me and you're kind of letting me know what was going on. It's constant dealing with the property owners and just constant them trying, I don't know, didn't they threaten not to give you your money or, only give you half your money?
Yeah, it's hilarious because you really quickly realize that these people are I think they need a lesson PR, I guess, in customer relations, because you ask them a question can we reschedule this? They just email you back with a legal document. And you're like, what? And you're trying to struggle reading this legal document because it's using legal terms.
Right.
And basically, it just basically states that so far we're not, shutting down, so we're still able to meet our, requirements. So
right.
It's going to continue.
They're still able to provide you their space, their facility, their services. Yeah. But they don't take into consideration that that this affects not just them but also your guests, a lot of them whom are coming from international.
Yep. And not only that, they're like, oh, by the way, it's $4,000 to change it to another day. And then and I was like, what?
Only
$4,000.
Yeah. And not only that, half the guests don't even want to come anymore. So I'm like, dude, and then there's a minimum requirement, and they're not budging on that either. So we're just playing the bluff game until they got forced to shut down. And then they're like, then we have now the option of just canceling all things. Suddenly they're just all of a sudden really nice. And they're like, okay, we'll provide you with these dates in August. And I'm like, all right. And then so we moved it to August. And we actually wanted to move it next year maybe. But they're like, no, you can't do anything next year. And then come around near August, 2 weeks prior, it got crazy again. And then again, they're still not yielding and doing our whole legal stuff. And then finally, 2 days before, again, they're like, oh crap, they might just now cancel because we called their bluff. And now again, they're trying to work with us again. And but this time we pushed it. They're now trying to amend the force majeure, basically saying that if they can't host it or something happens, or if I want to move it, now it's a guaranteed 4,000 no matter what, and we're just refusing to sign it.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they're still trying to charge you the 4,000.
No, if July rolls around the quarter and if we just have to move it or something, they're just trying to amend it. So no matter what, you're gonna be charged
Okay.
yeah.
Mm.
What was that? Because I had a lot of my friends had their weddings too, and I actually had an old church of mine who she got married this year just before everything broke out, and they were actually on their honeymoon, and I think they went to Sri Lanka, and then they got trapped in that country for like 5 months.
Oh wow. 5
Yeah.
months in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Oh man, I
No income coming in.
They were able to work remotely.
Oh,
So they were able, so it worked
So
out.
perhaps in Sri Lanka then. Okay.
Yeah, but they weren't able to come, home.
Jeez. It was funny because I remember my buddies were like, for the bachelor party, one of them suggested, let's go on a cruise. Just like right before things just got really bad. And then I was like, no, let's not go on a cruise. That just sounds like the worst idea ever if we get. No, actually, it was the first time, just like 2 weeks prior, this cruise ship, everybody got infected, nobody could leave. They were just like in prison for like a month almost.
Yeah.
But
Japanese one?
I can't remember which cruise ship it was.
Yeah, I think it's like Princess Cruise and then
Diamond Cruise, Japanese one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, that just sounds like a really bad idea. And then they're like, oh, come on, it's like, it can't possibly gonna be that bad. Sure enough, I think it was a week before, this whole thing started shutting down, and they're somehow still magically still running these cruise ships. And yeah, it would have been that ship that we would have been on, and we probably would have never even made it off the ship. Staying up here.
Oh damn! I would have been. Yeah, that would have been us. Oh shoot! I lost my stuff. Although I have heard that that bookings for cruises next year are like on the rise. So I think people are hopeful that by at least next year, things will be somewhat back to normal.
Do you think it's that, or they're just offering insane incentives to come back?
That might be a factor as well.
$5 cruises.
$5 cruises. I'd be gone for half the year.
There might be a possibility that you might be stuck out at sea for 3 months, but it's still $5.
My 80 days.
Oh man,
I would be right at home.
I was watching the videos of how they were getting treated. It was so bad. They were basically quarantined in a room, and then they had schedules where they're allowed to be escorted to the top of the ship somewhere, and then they're allowed to walk circles for about 30 minutes or something. Then you're escorted back into the ship. Yeah.
They still had the loungers, but they would they'd be 6 feet apart from each other. And, you can only go one way, around the exercise track or whatever.
This is the most horrible experience ever.
Trapped on
the prison ship.
Yeah, pleasure ship becomes a prison ship.
Walk in the yard.
Right?
They're we'll never go on a cruise ship ever again.
Total nightmare. Yeah. I don't think we'll catch on a cruise. I went on a couple cruises when I was younger, smaller ships, but after seeing people get trapped on these things and how they're treated, and you're locked in your rooms and the crappy food, and no. They get Ebola breakouts and stuff, stomach virus breakouts and yeah.
Oh yeah. That was bad.
Yeah.
Well, so okay, let's get into some some I guess alternative perspective, because I think everything that at least I've been hearing and kind of sifting through is all some of the information I've been getting is a little bit more nefarious. Some is a little less more tame than others. But uh, Albert, I think when you gave me like that little taste of what you have been finding, I think it's really been. I thought it was really interesting, and I guess I'll let you take the floor, so that you could just vent your lay out your theory or what the evidence that you've come across.
Well, it's not. It's just a different perspective because I'm looking at news in Asia and stuff, and they're pretty much over this. And um, so in the beginning, what was and when it first hit the U.S., we weren't really prepared for this at all. I'm just not gonna lie. I mean, I'm asking doctors and nurses that I know, and so they were struggling with the PPEs. And I don't completely blame the whole medical community because they literally had no idea what's going on. This is something totally new. There's no procedure for this thing. They don't even know what drugs to give. And then they're just hearing rumors. I heard this drug works. So they're just administering random drugs to people, seeing that it might work or doesn't work. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if somehow they heard like, hey, maybe bloodletting might actually help with this thing. So
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, anything
Like,
goes.
like literal bloodletting.
Yeah, no, it's just because nobody knew what to do. Like, there's no protocol in handling this drug or handling this virus.
Right.
And so doctors are just running around like, with no clue of what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. So it's like a lot of trial and error.
Even supposed to be doing because they'll go to a doctor like, I've never really seen that before, but would you sign up to be a guinea pig? I might get my butt sued. They don't normally do that. Like, usually you have like some research like college and other research institutes, like they study the virus, they study its effects on humans, and no, this just happened so fast that it caught everyone off guard. And the problem was, if it was just like a small minor case and it was only like 3, 4, 5 people getting it, I really don't think anybody would have cared that much. But this is where they were panicky because patients are asking them questions. They have no answer for it. And so and then the hospitals are now getting flooded with people, just flooded. And when that happens, they just can't treat anyone, including people with just normal illnesses. So they just started raising the alarm, like, we don't know what to do. And people got sicker because they probably gave the wrong treatment, and that was the case. And then the administration and whatnot, the higher ups, they're asking like, yo, we should get a handle on this. What should we do? And they honestly said that we need to figure out a way to slow this thing down. And even at the time, they weren't really sure the full effects of how this thing transmitted. They know nothing about this virus. And the only information they get is from China and later from Europe because they just got hit with it. So when Europe got hit with it, they got the same problem. They got all flooded. They had to shut down. They actually even put in the military to shut it down. And so that was just a brief, insight of what was going on in the beginning of this thing. And when it got flooded, the U.S. had to like, what is the only option in this case? Like, we have a flood of people coming in nonstop, taking up hospital beds for 2 weeks to a month, depending on how bad you get this thing. Some people die, some people didn't. They don't know why. They don't know why your lungs just, you get pneumonia to that point of craziness and why people's legs were turning purple. Nobody had any clue what this thing was doing. Later, we started discovering it was blood clots and all that stuff. So treatment started coming out, but that took like a month or 2 or 3 later. Masks were far and few between. We just didn't even think it was going to be that bad. So what we saw was in the early, and then CDC and a whole bunch of other people started kind of admitting it, that they were not wanting the public to wear masks because they didn't want everybody to hoard it, basically, so the medical personnel couldn't get any. It was recently
so
admitted.
obvious. It
Yeah.
was so obvious. Like when the Surgeon General was like, "You only need to wear masks if you're taking care of a coronavirus patient. Otherwise, masks are not working." It was such bullshit.
Yeah.
They should have made us allowed us to wear masks, or told us like, make your own masks.
Yeah. And then,
or tell us that like, hey, for the first 2 weeks, maybe don't go buy masks,
and then,
or because like,
Yeah.
here's the thing, because like they flip flop so bad, like no one trusts them anymore. Because first they said like, oh no, it doesn't do anything, don't even worry about it, and then all of a sudden they flip on that, and then they say like, oh no, you definitely should or you'll die. And so
Right.
it's like, how are we supposed to trust you now? Like, and especially like what concerned me was like when they came out and said like, oh, just anything would help. Even like a scarf or a bandana. Just like,
Yeah.
like
If we had done that in February, how many more people could have been saved?
if we'd done that in February, it's not even about death. The death rate is honestly kind of low. It's more like the hospital would have been flooded. I think the cases would have gone down enough. My wedding would have probably continued.
right, and that's the other thing is just like well, maybe I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but just like the whole narrative is falling apart because they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we did that, but now it's we're going on 6 months of this, and it's just it's all very frustrating. That's all I'm trying to say.
It was actually quite hilarious when they were telling people like not to wear masks, and then putting on the official CDC site that this thing doesn't work. And I'm like, oh, where did this come from? And then all these like you get like Vice and a whole bunch of like news articles like, yeah, masks don't work, blah blah blah. And then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why do doctors wear, like, the ones that are treating these people that aren't getting sick and they're like, around like 100 of these patients all day and all night, they're wearing N95 masks and whatnot. Doctors in Asia, and there was actually this Korean doctor that went on YouTube, and he's like head of their health administration, and it was just the most hilarious thing. He was just laughing at the U.S. He's like, I don't know where you guys even got that idea of wearing masks don't work. And he's explaining that it has worked for like ever. Rest of Asia is just scratching their heads like, what is wrong with Americans? and they just kind of like believe whatever they see. And then the arguments half the arguments, if you really think about it, don't even make sense. Like, yeah, if you like, the masks don't work, why do doctors wear masks in surgical settings? Like, why do they wear masks when they're treating COVID patients? I mean, if it doesn't work, then why wear one? And why would they wear one?
Yeah, well, no, I don't have.
No, Andy.
This is Andy on Tuesdays. Andy and I, we talk about this occasionally, but it's people so they're so driven to like what it's on the news, it must be true. Are these government officials that are just saying, oh yeah, the mask, we don't need that, and we just he has like a certain title at his name, so that must he's a quote unquote expert, and so people just buy into it. It's like, wait a second, that doesn't, like you're saying, Albert, it doesn't make sense if surgeons are wearing these type of masks in like surgical settings, and other doctors are using these in different medical settings, and the fact that like it's, but in this situation, no, we don't need them. Don't we don't and they're almost like, I don't know, patronizing like us, saying like, oh, if you're buying masks, you're being stupid. You're a terrible person if you're buying masks in this time, and then not a month or two later, they're saying, "Oh, if you don't have a mask, you're gonna kill grandma. You're a terrible person for not wearing a mask." Like, wait a second. So why should I believe you now when you and they come out several months later saying like, "Yeah, we were lying to you." And it's like, why would I believe you now? Like, honestly, nothing you're saying to me, like, I don't want to believe any of that. And I think that's kind of like why we're seeing some of the reaction and backlash that we're seeing now, because too many people have bought into just the mainstream news. They're just kind of going wherever they see. Oh well, so and so said it. This so and so, this expert over here said that, and I'm just gonna listen and not pay attention to what's going on.
Like, I just remember, because I watch news all over the world and stuff. So, and Taiwan, like, they're all wearing masks, like, and they're getting N95 masks, and in the case it's KN95 and whatnot. So, this is way before it even came to the US to hit us. So I was like, I'm just gonna get some N95 masks just to be on the safer side. So, I went into the store, and lo and behold, the China was running low on masks. So they were actually shipping some. I just saw a whole bunch of Chinese people went in there, and then they just like hoarded them. And I was like, dude, I'm 2 steps too late. So I'm like going to different like hardware stores to get like my hands on some. And I just bought like 2 boxes, that equivalent to 10 pen masks. I didn't think this was gonna last that long. And I was thinking to myself, if nothing happens, there's 90-day return like policy, so I could just return it. So I'm not losing any money. Better safe than sorry. And then lo and behold, like when it first started hitting here, there were telling people not to wear it. And then I'm hearing my parents like, my mom was like, she was like, can you give me some masks too? I'm like, all right. By that time, it's already all gone. You couldn't find it in the store. And I just hear the lady there was like, yeah, I heard that these masks don't work anyway, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't even get it. I'm like, okay, good luck with that. And I just walked out. But like, it took how many months after that? Like 2, 3 months when they started changing their tone. Like, you guys should wear masks. You should make these homemade crappy masks, but I mean, it's better than nothing. And like, and I was like, oh, dude, this is pretty sad. And so Annie's parents, they're getting masks from Korea right now. They're saying they're actually KF94 masks from Korea, because they're pretty much like done with it and they have like oversupply of it, so they just keep shipping them over. And here's a weird part of this. I do not know why this is happening, but if you don't give a really good reason, or if you ship a lot of them over, our customs take them.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why you're actually getting like, and the reasoning was FDA is official. I don't know the official reasoning behind this, and I don't know why, but they will confiscate it at customs, and without proper reasoning, and they're saying that, oh, we don't want unapproved masks coming in. It could be counterfeit or something, and people might get sicker. But then the counter argument to that is like, you can get these like fake, like crappy surgical masks that have all these gaps on it from Mexico, and nobody confiscates that, and that for sure that's only preventing you from like sneezing on somebody else, but it's still like, you can still breathe in if somebody isn't wearing a mask, and it'll catch, yeah. So, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, I always likened it to when they were starting to say, oh well, you can make your own masks at home, and it's like it reminded me back in like World War I, where they were running out of gas masks, and so they would tell you, oh yeah, just soak a rag and pee, and like and that's gonna save you from the mustard gas from killing you. It's like,
Hey, those couple tuna fish cans and put them on
yeah.
the scuba gear. You're snorkeling mask and a couple tuna cans.
Right. I was just always puzzled by masks, and it's and I know like there was always the arguments like, oh, then why do they wear masks in in operating rooms and things like that? And it's just like, and I was thinking, it's like, well, yeah, of course, it's like because the operating room is a very heavily controlled environment. It's sterilized. and it's keeping whatever germs that you might have from getting onto the patient. So that
Right.
completely makes
That's what-
sense. But it's just outside of like the clinical or the operating setting, it's just like it didn't make much sense because people I think they brought it up in a lot of different news articles or on CNN where they're talking about how people aren't wearing them right, that once they touch surfaces and then they adjust their mask, then it's just like pretty much defeats the purpose, and people like using the same mask over and over again, and not because in the hospital or like surgical settings, it's after the one used, they throw them away. Like they don't like take that mask and then go into another person's room or go into another operation. They immediately discard those things. So it's just I think when you have a very regimented and controlled environment, yes, masks I think can be a benefit, but out in the real world, I think it's just a little bit more detrimental.
Right, so you're answering the question, Andy. Think about how many masks they had to go through in the hospitals when they were getting flooded with people because they have to change their mask after every patient. And you're talking about throwing an N95 mask away after like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a new mask, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, And that's the protocol, is to change PPE, but then they're realizing, oh my god, we're going to run out of PPE. So they're like, well, maybe we can use it longer, and maybe you can use trash bags, and maybe, So, Albert, do you think there's any truth to the story about China hoarding all the masks globally in late December, early January, from like Australia and other countries?
Not really, because
Canceling orders that were supposed to be shipped, and then sending, canceling orders and not sending the masks out and hoarding them for themselves.
That I'm not too sure about, but now I know they have like an excess of like KN95 masks. You can order like a bazillion of them like right now. So they have not even an issue right now, and I don't even know why the U.S. isn't even ordering them.
Early on, there's some people that discovered that they were ordering masks from other countries and like putting in huge orders for PPE before anybody knew that there was a virus breakout. So then when all these countries needed the PPE, they're like, oh my gosh, shit, we just sold a bunch of stuff to China, or we just that order. Wait, where's that order? No, they canceled it.
Yeah, that I'm not too sure about.
There's those videos of the nurses or like the healthcare workers getting like their PPE, and it was just like it was glorified tissue paper. As soon as they took it out of the box, it just like dissolved in their hands.
But Al, you know about this. You probably know this. Like Al, Andy's parents, like any Koreans, they don't trust any 95 masks from China. My wife, Andrew, has some like relatives that are like, can you guys get like some Korean masks and send them to us? We don't want masks from China.
Yeah.
Dude,
So,
my wife
masks, like, they don't trust them. I mean, they probably work nice. They just don't trust them. They're like, no, we want.
Yeah. They have full reason to. Yeah,
So
but like
today, my wife bought because the Korean market here sells them, and I guess she lives in Hawaii. In Hawaii, they're like $7 a mask.
Mm-hmm.
But out here, you get them for like $2, $2.50 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife bought like 10 masks and sent them to her auntie in Hawaii. Because they wanted Korean ones, But
yeah.
I have to really nice N95 masks that are made in China. They seem to be really tight. Like when you breathe, like you don't see the mask suck in and out, and like you can't smell anything like perfume or a part or something. Like they're pretty good. But
so the KN90.
No China masks. No China masks.
So they actually have these little certificates that are actually government approved ones.
Yeah.
Then they have the shady ones that they ship you and you probably don't have a certificate. So even the ones coming into the U.S., they do need to see that certificate proving that this is actually a real KN95 mask. There are some people like in China that made the fake ones, and they were pretty prominent, and the government kind of cracked down on those.
Yeah.
And then, but you do need to see that little certificate.
Because they're from an American importer, but they're made in China. But this is an American importer, so they're probably most likely.
They probably have, in order for it to come in, it has to have that certificate in the U.S. So you probably got a pretty legit one. So the KN95 mask is the closest to our N95 mask. The so that means only 5% of the particulates can still get in that are small enough. The Korean ones are the KF94 masks. They're about 1% less efficient as the Chinese ones or the N95. So hence the N94.
This is the one that's made in China.
Hmm?
But it's distributed an American company to like America. This is ones that are being used in American hospitals.
Right.
It's,
Right.
but it's made in China. But they're really good though. They're super tight. Like you breathe it, the mask like goes in and out. So like it's a lot of suction.
Because the other issue was like the fitment too. Because the people weren't. Or the mask didn't have like the right fit on people, so it's like you could breathe, but it was like come out the side, bend out the side, or some such.
There's this little white thing like that goes on the back, and then you can kind of stretch it so it actually forms a like seal tight. So sometimes they give it to you, sometimes you have to order it extra. It's like a little strap that goes in the back of your head, and because they go over your ear. And then you can just pull it back and hook it onto these they have like little hooks on them, and then it pulls it tight, and then you get a nice seal. I think Matt has one probably.
But this one goes actually over your head. It goes behind your neck and goes behind your head.
Right.
Then it has a really strong wire nose piece on it. So I think this one you can get like a pretty good seal.
Yeah.
But still, the Koreans don't trust it. It's made in China.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't doubt it, because if you order it from the wrong person, it could be a counterfeit, like, piece of crap, and then you get screwed.
Yeah. It's funny though how some people don't really understand the mask thing. Like, there's one part of the mask, some kind of mask will prevent you from getting it from the outside in, and then most masks are just preventing droplets from going out.
Right.
So some people think like a gator will keep you from getting it. No.
And the problem,
there's been there's been like news reports coming out now that saying like, oh, are bandanas and gaiters, really that effective? Like, no.
No, like super not. Yeah, did you see the lighter video? A guy did a video of the lighter, super simple. Gator bandana, light out.
Oh, he blew it out.
Then surgical style mask, it was harder. Then 95 mask was like, couldn't really blow it out.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
And weird thing that like neck gaiters, somebody said like they actually make it worse because they microlize the droplets and then make them finer so they travel farther.
It's like because I think one of the other issues
is like an aerator on a faucet, makes it spray,
Right, and I think one of the other issues with the mask is that because the constant breathing. Eventually, it'll get to the point where it becomes, wet, and then it will just like trap, it'll trap germs or whatever, and then you'll eventually be like, inhaling them yourself. So
you really shouldn't wear a mask for too long at any one time.
Right, and I think that's also like, the worry was also that health workers who would wear like the mask too long. They would start, suffering from, other effects, whether it be headaches or, because of the bands, like around their, like some of the masks, that wrap around their heads, like, they start getting like tension headaches or. Just like the constant like rebreathing of carbon dioxide, and also like when you are breathing out, you're expelling some of like the particles, and then like you're like when you're rebreathing it, and so like a lot of I think in past studies they are finding that that they found more of the virus or the sickness in the nasal passages and in the lungs. Which could prolong the sickness.
Yeah, I gotta say the health workers are pretty much heroes at this little time because they had to wear so much gear, those masks and face masks and gloves and gowns. I think they deserve a little hats off. They're not part of political stuff. Whatever it is, they got patients coming in, they got to do protocol. They got to change all the PPE. This is a pain. But they did it, which kind of like makes you think teachers are kind of like wimpy. They should get to the classroom and be a little more brave. And they're like, "Oh, we're afraid we're gonna get corona from the kids."
Right. Well, yeah, like the whole teacher thing. That's been in like I guess. I mean, pardon the pun here, but it has become infected by politics. Just recently, like the LA's teacher union, put out their demands for like returning back to schools, like defund the police, put a moratorium on private schools, do not allow charter schools, and it's like, how does that have anything to do with the virus?
They totally ruined the whole charter school system in LA. They basically passed a new law for charter schools saying that charter schools have to be subject to LAUSD standards and review. So current charter schools can be actually canceled or curtailed, and all new charter schools have to go through an LAUSD approval process. Just passed like this last month by Gavin Newsom. It's really awful. Charter schools are in big trouble. So that's a side issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta figure something out.
So Albert, do you think like there was herd immunity, or do you think that the blue states and the red states had different effects based on politics, and Arizona, Texas not being so shut down, but they don't have as many cases? Do you think there's any proof to like the different political solutions and political approaches to this virus, or do you think just the population of New York is so unique that it's hard to like compare what goes on in a big condensed city to like Arizona or Texas?
Well, so honestly, the quickest way to fix this whole thing is just educate people how to wear a mask properly. Like, if you're gonna touch your face and stuff, take it off. Like, just train people. Like, all right, if you're gonna touch your face, touch your mask. Don't touch your face because that's where the virus is. And then if you wear it for so long, you might want to wash it before you put it back on again. And that's just like the simple stuff, right? Common sense. But I mean, people aren't even educated on how to put these things on properly. I just see people like have it on and just covering their mouth. Their nose is like exposed the whole time out, and they're walking in public. Yeah. And you're like, what? Just don't even wear it then if you're going to do that. Like, come on.
I look on their chin. Yeah. Chins in the world,
Or like, here, let me talk to you. Let me put it off. I'm like, so I can talk to you better. I'm like, dude, you're just defeating the whole purpose of wearing it. And even in supermarkets, like, if you, as the Japanese actually done studies this, and the U.S. is finally showing people about like these little droplets, what it looks like, and they use like these like it basically detects the little particles, and you can see them with laser beams, and they basically shine laser beams at it, and so you're really quickly seeing that like supermarkets aren't really ventilated at all. So when you read these little microparticles, they just kind of float there like forever. And then if people aren't properly wearing any of these things, they catches most of it, so it's not everywhere. And that's airplanes. I don't know. I actually have to see how that goes. Yeah, they were spreading everywhere. They're not properly.
I heard the filtration system on airplanes is pretty good.
Right, but if that's true about supermarkets and Home Depot and all that stuff, that people don't know how to wear masks, so they're not really effective. We're standing too close to each other in a supermarket. There's no ventilation anyway. So if that's all true, why aren't more people dying? Why isn't it worse then? Why does it appear that our solutions are working when you're actually saying they aren't really working? Like, why does it appear that our solutions are working to flatten the curve when you're actually coming out and saying, yeah, it actually doesn't really help because people aren't wearing it properly. They're defeating the purpose. There's no ventilation. So it basically like it's not even worth doing. So how do those two points match up?
Yeah, how do those reconcile?
Yeah, how does it reconcile then? If you're basically saying that people don't really know how to wear masks, people pull them down to talk, people are touching their face all the time, the grocery stores, I mean, there's no ventilation.
Yeah, no.
So we're massive then. Why are we all dying? Why isn't everybody getting corona then?
So no. That's what the argument. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like a lot of people are saying that that's why that there is that masks don't work in general, but the most of the time they're wearing it, they're basically stopping it spreading from the next person to the next person.
Yeah.
And even though like some people touch it and do it wrong, they might end up catching it, but it's just them and their own family, which usually ends up tending to happen. I'm talking about if you're completely just letting everybody run amok without wearing anything, it just takes a few people in the store just to spread it to everybody else in the store.
Yeah,
And it just keeps progressing to do that. And it obviously does work, because if you look at Asia, it's pretty much gone down to zero. Korea got a huge spike from this church, and then they didn't really need to shut down. And people wore masks, and it kind of just disappeared on its own. It's that simple. And
That's
they
what
just
you think the main solution is: wear a mask, social distance, and then hopefully things will be okay again.
Yep, pretty much. And the thing is that like nobody wants the business to shut down. Most people get angry right now because they don't want their like favorite business, restaurant, whatever it is, to shut down. I would be pissed off if my restaurant or jujitsu school shut down.
There's schools that shut down in our area.
Yeah, and it does hurt the economy. Like 54 million people are now out of a job. It is a serious thing, but it didn't have to happen in Asia because they got a handle on it fast. The key of the shutdown, which was in the beginning, was they didn't know what the heck is seeing. Our hospitals are filling up really fast, and that just brings down infrastructure. So what is the best solution is stop the spread.
That was March.
Yeah.
August.
So yeah. So once they figured it out really quickly, like okay, wait.
5 months. What are we doing?
Well, right now I don't have no idea what we're doing right now, but like before it was more to slow it down so we can get a handle on this, to study the virus a little bit, know at least some treatments, and we do have treatments now, like with the not as effective as it is, but it is the steroid that they're giving people. It's getting people out of the hospital a little faster. So hospitals aren't filling up as fast, but in the case of you saw in Texas, Arizona, Florida, that weren't, they just kind of, this is kind of the media's fault. For 1 minute they're saying don't wear masks, and the minute they're saying wear masks, and they're all confused. I don't want to trust you anymore. So people started doing their own thing, and then that spread fast. And when that happened, you saw their hospitals fill up massively fast. New York also didn't take it seriously in the beginning, and they got it really bad when people had to get like chucked into like freezers and stuff, freezing trucks, because they're just that problem was not just COVID patients dying. They couldn't treat like people with heart attacks and all that stuff because their hospitals were just taken down. In the programming world or hacking world, we call it a denial of service attack. I don't know if you guys know what that is. Is you ping it with so many requests, the servers just can't handle it and they shut down. So that's literally what this virus is doing. I mean, if you're older, you'll die, but realistically, they were just hogging up all the resources in the hospital. And then I have friends in the hospital that are just freaking out because they're changing floors to COVID floors, taking non-essentials out. So a lot of people, even in the hospitals, are losing their jobs right now because they're getting furloughed until.
My hours have been getting cut.
A lot of hospitals are losing money too.
Yeah. And a few weeks ago, Riverside, when they were put on the watch list, and they were the first ones to expedite it so that they can open up faster. I think a month ago, they reached almost 100% capacity. They had to actually send in the military medical personnel to help them alleviate it. We had Orange County actually surprisingly had enough hospitals, so our hospitals went up to like I think 45 to 50% capacity. But then we started taking it a little bit more seriously. But it depends on the area and how many hospitals they have. If you have enough hospital beds, it's not that bad. But the key is this thing spreads through the air and it spreads through little droplets. So if you breathe it in, you might catch it, you might not. But if you do, you catch it, you might not even show symptoms. Before you show symptoms, like 2 days before, you jump around and you give it to the next person and they catch it. And it was only a matter of time to give it to somebody a little bit older. And then they actually, die. But what most medical personnel are actually afraid of is these hospitals just filling up to max capacity.
Yeah, makes sense.
But with proper treatment and slowly, Orange County is now seeing it drop. Like we're now almost off the watch list. I think today we might actually be off the watch list. People now are required to wear masks, and you just see the numbers drop from. I think at our peak, we're getting over 1,000 people per day getting infected. Now we're just getting 200 and something. So it's obviously doing something. Yeah.
Do you believe in the herd immunity, all that kind of stuff?
The herd immunity is going to take a long time, and the thing is that again, this is one of those weird things. Is we saw it in well, like, what are we going to achieve with herd immunity? Is a better question.
Well, my question is, how many people do you think got corona asymptomatically but never were tested and never documented, and so they're part of the herd immunity, like.
Right, but here's the question though, like, so even in Asia, in Korea and China, they see the problem is this virus is so really weird and unknown right now that they have weird cases where people are getting it again. They already caught it once and they caught it again, and
That's
so
really rare. So they're thinking that could have been a false positive in the first place or something. So
it could be a false positive, or it's right now.
There are viable tests going around the first couple.
Well, they're finding out that it could be that. They're still studying because we don't have enough time. Yeah. And so right now it could be a false positive, or that your immunity only lasts for a few months, or, which is also very likely, is and nobody really thinks about this. This could be like herpes, and it keeps coming back on you. On like, you catch it once in a few weeks, and you get a flare up. Like a few months later, his immune system gets weak. You get a flare up. The viruses that work like this. Once you get it for life.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be subject to the temperature changes like the seasonal flu. We entered the summer months and it's still.
That was a joke, because once I was like, why do you guys even believe that? Dude, look at India. It's like freaking hot as hell over there, and they're having a huge outbreak. Oh, by the way, it's really hilarious how they're controlling it. Their police officers are beating living crap out there.
We'll beat you to health.
Right. It's the only fair way.
I'm like, police brutality. Go watch India.
Yeah.
But do you think there was some truth to the? Do you think there's some truth to China and the WHO kind of helping each other cover it up in the beginning?
Oh, WHO is definitely helping China. Like I said, China was so afraid of shutting down. They did not really want to shut down. Dude, their whole thing right now is about their economy. Like, so half the conspiracy is like, this is China wanting to do something. It doesn't even make sense because they're just buying as much time to prevent the shutdown, because once they declared it as a pandemic, China loses a lot of like trade, and China was also giving a lot of money to WHO, so they were avoiding using the word pandemic for or declaring a pandemic. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, they actually changed the definition of pandemic too.
Yeah, because China was like, please don't shut down, because we'll have like detrimental economic effects.
Well, do you think that that's like totally immoral, and that they should pay some penalty globally to countries that were affected because of their immoral decision?
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But that's up to a court tribunal of some sort. I don't think they would care.
I don't know. A lot of people are really not happy with China, to tell you the truth. Like,
yep.
Disgusting.
But right now, I think it now flipped. So now a lot of people are like also kind of pissed off the U.S. because they're afraid of basically U.S. bringing it back to other countries are now starting to get in control, because we're kind of not really handling this.
I don't know. I think we are.
Yeah, we are, but like other countries got it under control within like 2-3 months.
They're also a lot smaller and
right. And I think one of the biggest gripes I have is just kind of like the uniform solution to everything. You know, it's just like everything locks down, everyone's like shut down. You know, that's just what's concerning to me, because it's like, you know, there's some areas that didn't get even hit that bad. Like Montana as a state, I think had like I always forget which one it is. either 4 cases or 4 deaths. Like this entire time, and it's just like but they're like even they are locked down, even like with their low like case numbers or death numbers, and so it's just like why are we treating Montana like we're treating New York, or why are we treating you know
Oh yeah, I could totally see what you're talking about. That totally seems unfair, right? But
right
but like what happened here that we're seeing was when Orange County refuses to close the beach, LA closed their beach, right? what ended up happening? We had a free area for people to come over, so that became everybody's vacation destination. We could go suddenly to
Well,
pre-COVID era.
yeah. All the protests. Don't forget all the protests.
Yeah, we got the protests too,
That
but
was
I'm just
probably
saying,
worse than
like,
the beaches. I would say it was
yeah,
worse than the beaches.
I don't
You
know,
had
but like
people
when you have an
shoulder screaming.
right, but like when you have an area that like has bars open, and I'm like, well, I'm bored. Wait, there's an area I can drive to that has bars open. Dude, everybody's bolting down there from like if they're within the vicinity. It's just how people are. I mean, everybody's bored.
Yeah, and there was no massive death toll, so I don't see why we're freaking out so much. I think it's being really stretched out for political reasons.
Well, yeah, like
All these issues you brought up, like, oh, look at the beach, oh, the protests, all those bars are open, all these people came from all these different places. So where's the outbreak? Nothing happened.
oh, it did.
Not
It very
really.
much. Like look at Riverside. 99 to 100% capacity of the hospitals. That's not so much like I agree with you on that. It's just the overflooding the hospitals.
Well, then there's a lot of people that are going to the hospital that shouldn't be going to the hospitals. Like, you should just,
Uh,
then we don't need you here. Like, don't tell me like 100% capacity, they're all on ventilators. No, they're like in there, they got checked out, they're taking up resources, and they most likely go home in a few days.
it depends on how bad it is. They're usually going in when they're, blood oxygen levels dropping because they're getting all these weird blood clots all over their bodies. And you kind of have to be monitored for that for a few days. And when they have the right drugs, which they are starting to have, they can send you home. But when they can't, they have to monitor you.
I guess.
I mean, if it was like the normal flu, I mean, of course you get sent home, and that was the easy case. But you got people that are pretty sick, and then they don't, and they're trying to avoid ventilators because when you put on ventilators, you're pretty much screwed. And
You might as well just go into the morgue at that point because you're not long for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And trust.
People actually were being killed faster by the ventilators because the pressure wasn't right, and they're like, oh my god, well maybe we'll turn them upside down on their belly, and they tried that for a while. But,
right
And trust me, the hospitals will want them as fast out of the hospitals as fast as possible because they're replacing okay. I don't know if you knew this. Most hospitals make more money off of elective surgeries.
Yep.
right
And
yeah
when you convert floors into COVID floors, they are losing a crap ton of money.
That's how I'm
elective. What was that?
That's how I'm losing hours
Oh
because
Yeah.
there's no surgery,
And
so no patients for rehab.
yeah,
right
they want to get because when I was talking to James earlier, I was like, dude, more and more people they get sick, they're gonna come to the hospital, flood it up. You're probably gonna lose hours, and now you're probably seeing a little bit of it happening already. And it's just how this stupid virus works. It makes you sick enough that you really have to go to the hospital for a bit. Might not die. It's just you hog up space and resources.
yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
How long?
No, huh?
How long do you think it's gonna last?
I don't know. Once people start figuring out that wear a vaccine, wear a mask, I don't know, just keep it from spreading, stop it from spreading. The best thing is that if we actually have a protocol of treating this, so people go in the hospital and come out within the same hour or two because they have now a medication that can really get rid of the clots or something, this won't be an issue anymore.
Right.
It's just that it destroys an entire infrastructure right now. But it's new enough that we're just, doctors are literally treating people like guinea pigs.
Yeah, you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, something will finally stick. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the process is always.
If most hospitals are not overbooked, and if most hospitals are at operating capacity, why would we not start opening up? If
Well,
Yeah, my two hospitals are like
yeah, why not open
have
up?
that many. We don't have that many COVID patients at all, man.
Yeah,
right. That
Right, because
is.
I think it's a little bit of a misnomer because when you hear reports about like hospitals at 95% capacity or 99, well it's like isn't that a good thing? Well, isn't that like like normal? Like shouldn't and also isn't that good for like the hospital in general? Because then like they'll keep getting like resources and be allocated the funds to keep working. Because if you all of a sudden now have if you have a hospital that could that can treat like 20 people, but then all you only have then like half that. You only have 10 people that come in. Just like, oh well, you don't have to you don't need that much funds next year or next month, so that I don't, I don't know how
Um,
hospitals work, but
yeah, I don't have much information on that. All I know is um, the minute, like, well, you saw the governor. He was also, if he keeps stuff shut down, it's not actually the best thing for California either because you're losing funding left and right because businesses are closed and all that stuff, not collecting as much taxes, so on
not
and so forth.
his vineyard, which happens to be in a county that decided not to shut down.
Right. But the thing is that like with like someplace in LA, it's like a cluster of people that really close together, and it just takes a few people just to not really care as much. But like I said, if they properly get educated and wear a mask, it probably wouldn't even be a big deal because you saw it in Seoul and everywhere else in Korea and Taiwan is still squished together. But the problem is right now we have such a big division of people like not wanting to, wear a mask. And it's totally fine with them, whatnot. But then we prolong this. But if people, and that's another thing, I don't even know why California isn't educating people how to properly wear something and do that and so forth. It's just wear it. That's all we're going to tell you. And that's not
Or
helping the situation.
alternatively, why don't they like stress like healthier habits, exercising, how to increase like your immune system.
right.
All you hear is wear a mask, lather up in sanitizer, and wait for a vaccine. There's no one coming out and say, oh, try this, eat more nuts or eat more garlic or exercise more. It's just like
Stop. Yeah.
what was it?
Um,
Stop smoking cigarettes or
Yeah,
like
dude, do you know I've seen so many people with like mask
lower
around
your
their
blood.
neck and like taking drags outside.
Yeah.
It's it's like during the like during like the maybe the worst respiratory like sickness that we've seen in like 100 years, and like you see guys with like masks like on around their necks, and then they're out just outside taking drags of cigarettes.
well, I'm sure that can kind of work, and it will definitely help a lot. But I think the key is right now to stop this little foreign entity from going right into your nose and finding a home in your lungs somewhere. Is
Or just get
guaranteed to
it in
stop
your
it. And again, like I said, the doctors don't really fully understand how this thing is like what do you need to do to enhance your immune system that you're guaranteed 100% you're not going to get sick. I
Well,
know
I mean,
people at
it's not.
gyms that
I don't think it's you can I mean, no health care professional ever guarantees 100% like health. If they do like these healthy options, it's just it's like you just put yourself at better odds of not getting sick or not having to visit the hospital as much. And I
I
think
mean like
it's just like the managing of expectations is like wrong here. It's just like it's like, oh, the mask 100% 100% immunity. It's like, well, okay, then we can everyone just wear masks and just go about the rest of their lives. Like, oh, no, but you still have to socially distance. It's like, well, which one is it? I mean, I understand like the cumulative effect of doing those things and proper hygiene and things like that, but it's just it's we've just been lied to so much. Is that we no longer have faith in people who are who supposedly say that they're they're just there to help us out.
Right, and I totally see where this is all coming from, but like I said, I'm just looking at Asia, and it's working out pretty damn well for them. But like, I'm not disagreeing with you at the working out thing, but the problem is with that is that like they don't know how effective that will be in this case. I mean, you can work out as much as you want, you can be super strong, and you will get staff if you know, or ringworm or something like that, and that's in the jiu-jitsu community, and they're working out like no tomorrow. I mean, there's no guarantee that like doing all this will, you know, help that much more.
Yeah, and then it's I think where the problem is for us too is like there's bombarded with the facts of and so much conflicting data that I think people are just I don't they can figure it out. They're like, well, I don't know, this person's saying this thing, this person's saying that thing, and it becomes this instead of being driven by data. And it's okay to say I don't know, but people seem to freak out like, oh, we can't say that we don't know, so we'll just say this, and it becomes this political football. Where one day it's like, if you don't do this, like you're a terrible person. But then when the riots are happening, it's like no one's there's hundreds of thousands of people that no mass burning down the city, and then there's a spike in cases, and it's like, oh, but it's not because of that, it's because these people wanted to go to church, or there was some other like you know wedding party that happened, and so it's because of them, not because of these protests. It's like, come on, really? Are we really that stupid? And it's kind of this consistent of I feel like my legs being pissed on, and they're telling me it's raining. It's like, come on, don't.
Some warm rain.
Warm and ammonia smelling rain.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like I see everything you're talking about is it's 100% true. It's because like we're making this thing like it's just so many double standards are going on here, and it's confusing the crap out of everyone. So then, and I can understand why people are like, I don't want to wear masks because these people just told me not to wear a mask, and then they're making these little double standards and all that stuff. I'm not going to argue about that, but let's just look at Asia that has it under control. What do they do?
With like data and stuff like that? You mentioned like the studies that they did with like droplets and things like that, and how like everyone knows that masks work, but then you get like, but then you have a report out of in a very reputable medical periodical saying from 2015 saying oh, the masks don't really work in all contexts, and like this the size of like the virus, and also like the people freaking out about, or like the study then goes on to say what is it like the viral load in these droplets isn't even is so negligible, it's not even worth bringing up. And so every people read these things, and like we're I think it's I think we're suffering from information overload, where we're constantly being bombarded with information. So it's like, and no one's like parsing it out, or no one's really taking the time to parse it out to say like this this study is no longer valid, or this part of the study has some application to the current situation, but and so on and so forth. So it's just it's really just hard to I think it's hard to discern right now, like what information that that we can follow, and also again, doesn't help that the officials are constantly contradicting themselves.
Right.
And don't forget, this virus likes brown and black people more. So
right.
It's the most woke virus ever.
The virus. This virus is tricky. It's a very picky eater.
Now,
Sense, Albert, have your doctor friends told you that black and brown people are getting corona more than are dying or getting affected with corona more than other races? I mean, because that's what the Democratic Party is saying. That's what their vice presidential candidate is saying in her acceptance speech, that this coronavirus is affecting black and brown people more.
So why is that happening? Let's ask.
Or
Let's
is
ask
it
that
even
question.
true? Do you think it's
Well,
even true?
so
Are
some
your
of it
doctors
is.
saying that there's black and brown people coming into hospitals more? I mean, like,
Well, they probably don't
Well,
even go to
yes,
the
because they're
hospital
the
more.
ones that are out protesting and rioting and
Yeah,
exposing themselves, dude.
oh, there you
but
go. That could be it.
so this is exactly what happened in
Damn, I
Ventura
shouldn't have
County.
said that, dude. Can you edit that
Good
out?
job,
I know
James. I
James
like
is
that one.
Yeah.
canceled. James is
Yeah.
canceled.
That's not
So
a bad, dude.
like let's take a look at maybe why this might actually be happening. It has something to do with race. Like the virus is like, oh, I see your skin color, I'm gonna go attack you more. Maybe it might be the
It's
lifestyle.
very attracted to melanin.
Yeah, it's probably the lifestyle.
So what do I mean by lifestyle? So let's go take a look at Ventura County. We had a huge outbreak in Ventura County, and why was that? All the migrant workers were living in a facility that was not properly upkept, and they were sleeping in bunk beds right next to each other. One person brought it in from Mexico, and it spread like wildfire, and everybody caught it there. So suddenly we had over like 300 cases out of the blue because they were working in Oxnard, and they lived at these migrant facilities. We got that in San, huh?
Don't eat the strawberries. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then we have the same thing happening in like Santa Ana. We get them in LA. They have these little sweatshops opening, but nobody's talking about the sweatshops. Like it's literally happening there, and it's like I'm not even surprised that's happening. And to make this a race issue, it's like I'm speechless.
Pretty disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like maybe we should focus on their living conditions.
Yeah. That's a good
It's
point.
kind of the same, like similar circumstances as like swine flu, because what was it? When swine flu happened, way back when, it actually started at a pig processing plant in Mexico. And everyone's like, oh no, this is new, influenza vaccine. But it also could just be the working conditions, because they're like, they're like waist deep in like pig parts and excrement and blood. It's like, probably not like the most sanitary conditions, and so
that virus was totally against farmers.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Just wanted to kill farmers.
Yeah.
Or like yeah, it's like well, it's like I think I heard something about where it's like um, it was a cover story, basically. So like this one like pig processing like company didn't like they didn't basically didn't want to pay for like the health bills for like their workers who got sick, and so they made basically they pulled the God cards like, oh, it's an act of God, there's a strange new virus.
Right.
Mm.
And but like even still, like both sides are just playing like politics, and one side's pissed off because they're getting misinformation. Others are they lost their business and they're pissed off. And I'm not gonna listen to anything you're saying. But the truth is, I mean, as of right now, why don't we just look at like other news from other countries that have nothing to do with our politics right now? The ones that are working, they're completely, got it under control. What are they doing correctly? Let's just look at that, analyze that. You'll see a lot of them are wearing masks. They're following little protocols here and there. There's their politics has nothing to do with our politics here. So they don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. They don't care about that. Let's just look at what they're doing, and no, easy.
So are they eating inside restaurants in Korea?
Yeah. Wait, well, no, I'm not really too sure about that one.
Yeah, they
But
are.
like, yeah.
It's not
So
Well, I mean, if
right?
if social media is to be believed, then I have seen like some people that I know in Korea that they are actually eating inside restaurants, not just like
Right.
kind of
Yeah,
like
I'm sure they are.
yeah, because their virus case counts have dropped to like almost nothing. Until recently, there's a little outbreak, but in Taiwan, like I said, everybody's returned to normal life. Majority of people stop wearing masks. They don't even wear masks anymore. It's like 1/3, and that's where the sudden slight outbreak happened again, and everybody's like, "Please wear your mask again." And it's now starting to go back under control again. But you know, stuff happens. Because they're getting the most of their cases are coming in are from foreign countries.
Mm.
Wait, you mean like foreigners from foreign countries coming into the country?
Yep.
Uh,
That's pretty much it. I mean, like it's pretty easy. Like just I mean, let's not even debate about like who's right and who's wrong. Just do a little case study on what Korea, Taiwan, and other Asian countries that have it under control.
Well, they're eating in restaurants.
Yeah, if their case count's like down to like, well, we only have like one or two people that are that have it now, and everybody else is pretty much cleared. There's nothing to worry about, and they don't even need to wear masks.
Maybe all the at-risk people can just stay home, and we can all just go back to our life.
The who?
At-risk people, like older people and at-risk people and immunocompromised people, can just stay in. They can quarantine, and we can all go back to our life.
It's like I said again. That wasn't.
Why don't they try it? Why don't they just try that?
Well, they did in New York and Italy and a whole bunch of other stuff, and that's not the problem that they're scared of. It's like the death right now. We kind of already know that's not really the case. It's the flooding of hospitals. You're bringing down a whole entire infrastructure. That means if you get in an accident and you have a broken leg, go in the hospital, they'll probably send you home with Advil when they're at capacity.
Well, I don't know. I think that at this point, the cure is worse than the illness in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, right now the best thing is just to wear a mask and life can return back to normal.
Maybe not.
Oh yeah. But I'm seeing where it works, and that's what I'm basing off of my assumptions right now.
Yeah.
but I mean,
I
yeah,
don't-
it's just I don't know. It's just one of those things that I think we just have to like let it run its course, and we'll just have to I think.
Right. We don't have an H1N1 vaccine, and that virus died out. So why don't we have an H1N1 vaccine? Remember, 20 million Americans were infected with H1N1 virus in like 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
I mean, yeah, and then like what is
So
it? 2 years ago with
why didn't we get a vaccine?
tuberculosis, like
Why
a
didn't we
million and
get
a half people died of tuberculosis, but we didn't like shut down. We didn't shut everything down.
right, and that's
But
not
but I know, we're like different contexts, different circumstances, or whatever.
yeah. I mean, this one is a flooding of hospitals, and the other one is you die kind of thing, and that wasn't a big deal. Flooding the hospitals become a big deal when you have people that don't have the virus. They need to go in for cancer treatment. They can't get cancer treatment because the hospital is full. Then you get people really pissed off because they really need
I don't had any hospitals that really ever reached maximum capacity for more than like a couple of days, and that they couldn't have been absorbed by other nearby hospitals. They even had the Mercy ship outside of New York. They never really used it. The Samaritan's Purse built hospitals in Central Park. They never really used them. So I don't buy this whole overload the hospital capacity thing too much.
Well, I have
It happened.
examples. It happened. They ended up having to shut it down, and then the flow started slowing down, and then they were able to control it.
Yeah, and so that was like March. I mean, this has been like 5 months. I think at this point, like
For Riverside, they were at full max capacity for over a month before they finally started getting it under control.
well, that's great. Then they handled it for a month. I mean,
Yeah, they had it.
Disaster. That's not a disaster.
Exactly. So how do you think they handled it?
By nearby hospitals and other clinics lending aid. I mean, they got through it, obviously.
Right,
It
but
wasn't even major national news. It wasn't even national news.
How did they?
National news.
How did they slow it down?
It
It
wasn't
was
even
on news.
national news. I'm saying it's not a big deal.
It was.
No, it wasn't.
It made
It wasn't
it.
even national news. It wasn't even
It
national.
was. It made it to national news.
Barely.
It was. If you looked at Texas hospitals, they were also filled. The reason they slowed it down was they literally had to re-shut down again. And I don't really like that. But if every time these hospitals fill up to the max, you got a shutdown, which I don't like either, then businesses, suffer. And if you say it's not a big deal, you tell that to a business owner, they think it's a big deal.
I don't know. I think there's different ways to approach this, and the way that there's different arguments on both sides that are very valid.
Right.
So,
And I agree with you. Okay, then how would you approach this if your hospital is now getting filled and you need to go to the hospital? So, like, what is your opinion on how to fix this thing?
well, I don't know. I mean, I just saw that there wasn't the overload in New York that they thought they were going to have. They didn't use the overflow hospitals that they built. They were never even really used. So you would think a place like New York.
Yeah, because they kind of had to shut down.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of competing information. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
But then how does the shutdown help with an over?
I mean, you could pin a few hospitals across the nation, but I mean, as a nation as a whole, it's never really overloaded the system like they thought it would. I mean, at this point, seriously, the economic fallout could be worse than the medical fallout. I mean, people die, things happen.
So
saving everybody's life and letting nobody die in the name of letting the economy crash in the meantime, and people committing suicide.
It's
over 3,000 people committed suicide in California.
Right.
Exacerbated by COVID shutdown situations.
Right.
So kids are like getting like all kinds of depression and all kinds of emotional issues because they're not back to their socialization. So, honestly, who chooses who survives? Who chooses whose life gets saved? Who chooses like who gets fucked?
That's what happened in Italy. They stopped.
A bunch of old people died, and maybe it's old. Honestly, out here in America, a majority of the people that have passed away from COVID were over 70 years old. And then as you go down in age, the percentage drops to where anybody under 55, it's like maybe 5% of infected people, 5% of people that died were under 55. It's very, very, very low.
Right.
So some people just need to make different decisions and just let it go.
What I'm saying again
maybe
is,
it's better that kids go back to school. Maybe it's better that businesses open up and the economy doesn't get fucking crashed and shut down for like years and years to come. And maybe some people with diabetes and pre-existing conditions and not immunocompromised people will die. Okay.
Sure.
That's what's happen.
Fine. But
so
what about
in the name of trying to save everybody's life, like up to like, oh my God, nobody can die. You're ruining the economy. What's wrong? What's funny? No, you're ruining the economy. Kids are like emotionally depressed, and people are committing suicide. And so, like, who decides? Who decides whose life gets fucked and whose life gets saved? All these landlords are getting fucked because now you have eviction moratorium. Do you know how many moms and pops are going to lose their properties that have duplexes that aren't getting paid, or single-family homes that are being rented, their renters aren't paying? So, okay, who decides who gets fucked?
Right, but like I'm saying, like I agree with you on that. Not that many people are dying.
States are treating people differently because they got Democratic politicians shutting down things. You got red states like Arizona, Texas, and other places that are operating under different assumptions. And then you got school unions fighting the teachers teachers in Ohio called in sick because they don't want to go to school. But who decides who gets fucked? Who decides?
Well, right. Well, let's go back to this. The issue that I'm trying to say is that hospitals start getting filled up with people. They have to reallocate resources, and that was the problem. Not really about people dying and what. The people that are end up going to be dying is that people that they can't treat anymore because the hospitals are filling up. So how did you bring? So what happens is a lot of people are now spreading this thing, and they might need to go to the hospital, and then we need to now throttle the influx of people coming in that is taking up space. So how would you propose a solution to throttle this from coming in? That's the problem.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Not at this point. It's been 5 months. The amount of, testing is up. Cases are slowing. The death curve has been flat for a couple of months. It's bouncing and bouncing, but it's not. The death curve is not trailing the cases curve. Cases are going up because testing is going up, but deaths are remaining relatively flat. So it's becoming less lethal.
Right.
or it wasn't as lethal as. I mean, it's just.
So
You're
in the
gonna have
beginning,
arguments. You're gonna have arguments on how to approach this. I'm telling you. Like I said, the question is who gets fucked. Who gets fucked?
so yeah, we'll go back to
Who's
the
the
economy
expert that
issue.
has the right answer? And what's who's to say what's best for everything?
So like I said, so at the beginning we had no idea what was going on,
Yeah.
and now we have better treatments. So sure enough, the hospital stays are lower, so we're not getting filled as much. And right, but in the beginning, we saw that it did happen. China had to build 2 hospitals in 10 days
Yeah,
to
but
fill
we're
the
in
capacity. We
September
can't
now.
deny that. We saw that in Italy. We saw that in Spain. We saw that in France. We saw that in New York. We saw that,
They didn't use them in New York.
huh?
They didn't use the overflow hospitals in New York. The Mercy ship was sent there, wasn't even used. They built
Yeah.
hospitals in Central Park. They didn't barely even use them.
Why do you think that happened?
Because they told them they were going to need them and they didn't.
Right. But that's because they instantly started shutting down everything until they throttled the people from coming in.
No, they had
They protested. That was way later.
Not much.
You're in the hospital when everybody was like going into the thing. That happened like a couple months later.
But at the time that they sent why did they use okay, so you're saying they didn't use overflow because the shutdown was miraculously the solution. So they shut down everybody and then that just stopped it.
It slowed down the people from coming into the hospitals. And eventually it kind of got a little bit under control, and then everything they started reopening again later. It's the whole shutdown thing is literally just to throttle the intake of people going to hospitals before they can start figuring out there has to be some sort of treatment here.
Yeah, but I think at this point it's not worth it.
Is it really?
The hospitals a little bit more. I think
I agree with you. Shutdowns suck, and it's not worth it. But
I think it's it's too much. It's too much. It's not that it sucks. We have to deal with it. I think it's like, no, this is too much. This is now entering into the wrong answer department.
Well, like I said, I mean, we both agree that shutdowns doesn't really work. I mean, it works in certain scenarios, but it hurts businesses and whatnot. So the solution is to do something that slows the spread. Businesses can remain open.
In March, but now it's not March anymore. I agree. Okay, couple weeks, a month to slow down the curve, wear masks, stay in lockdown. We all did that in March. March 15th is when it started. And then it was April 15th. Okay, it's been a month. And now it's almost September. It's bullshit now.
Right. And do you know why this is happening?
Because it's a political year? Because there's an election in less than 70 days?
Well, when they start
California, yeah, I really think so. I think you're missing the political point of it.
No.
Way like it's nothing, but how do you know?
So what happened? Because I saw it happen in Orange County. We start opening up really early because Gavin Newsom got really pressured to start opening up early, and then people in Orange County was like, "We don't believe in masks," and didn't really care about anything, and we got a huge spike. Same thing with Riverside, and then their hospitals started filling up, and then we're like, "Oh crap, maybe we should shut down again." Then we had a super overreaction, and Newsom is shutting down everything, and that's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
And we are reopening right now. Like in Orange County, we're going to be off the watch list soon, and we're going to reopen schools shortly.
Yeah.
Now, here's the next question: is 45 million people are out of a job, and here is where the funny thing is the economy should be tanking, right?
Should be what?
Tanking.
Well, it's kind of on hold, but yeah, okay. The market's up.
Why?
Because there's possibly confidence in the election that after the election things will probably possibly go back to normal, and that the structures that were in place, financial structures that were in place, so the reason why the economy was good pre-corona can probably easily reinstate, because the reason that economy went down is not an economic reason. It's not a trade reason, an economic reason, a global reason, a war reason. It was a medical reason. And so you're going to have a V spike. It's going to crash and it's going to recover. So the market's good because the market has there's confidence in the market. They anticipate that this thing will probably blow over and that you better have your chips lined up and be ready to make money when this thing opens back up because it's America. America always does well. We always recover. Anybody who pulls their money out of the market because they're scared will always lose that recovery. So I don't know, there's nothing saying economically that we're not going to be doing well if you open back up.
Now, why does Wall Street actually want more shutdowns?
I haven't heard Wall Street wanting more shutdowns.
Well, let me explain to you about this. So let's look at a different standpoint.
What's
So
your
if
story?
40, so I have multiple sources, and I'll explain to you later. And I actually messaged most of it to Andy. So
Yeah.
so let's take a step back. If 45 million people are out of a job and they want to buy stocks, but they're going to have issues paying, food and other stuff, which probably will happen eventually, how they would end up, taking stuff out of their stocks to, get equity and buy stuff like food and other supplies. Most people can't even actually go to work because their kids are staying at home. No, true, everything you're saying, but our stock market keeps going up. Why is that?
I don't know why.
You tell me.
I told you there's confidence in the economy that when we open back up and we get back to normal, that we're going to be back to pre-corona economic doing well.
Well,
That's
earlier,
there's
yeah,
consumer confidence. There's confidence.
confidence. But
Yeah,
then you were,
confidence in that if you open this thing back up, that confidence in that we have the pre-corona economy. Would you not say the pre-corona economy? Are you going to tell me the pre-corona economy was bad? Are you going to tell me that the pre-corona economy was bad with the lowest unemployment for all these different demographics, stock market doing well? You're going to tell me the pre-corona economy is bad?
no, it wasn't bad.
Okay, so people have confidence we can get back to pre-corona economy.
No, it has actually nothing to do with confidence, sir.
How do you know? I mean, I'm telling
So,
you, like, what do you mean? Like,
okay, here's exactly
I
what's
Yes,
just said
happening.
Albert,
we could get back
explain.
to
Albert,
pre-corona
explain.
All right,
economy.
Explain.
Was
okay, let
good.
me explain to
So
you
we
what's
go. Why
actually
can't we go
going
back
on.
to pre-corona economy? What's stopping us from going back to pre-corona economy?
So let me actually explain what actually is going on. Do you know what the Fed repo market is? Open
What?
markets? The
Excuse me.
Fed repo open markets.
Go ahead. Explain.
All right. So what is actually really happening is we're actually printing an unlimited amount of money
I
to
know.
prop up. Yeah.
I know we're printing
So
money.
we're doing them through the Fed open expo markets. They actually drive the interest rate. So what happens is right now, even prior to coronavirus ever even hitting, this was already happening. We're
You
actually going
the
to
economy prior to corona was good. You didn't say anything bad about the economy prior to corona.
no. So pre-corona, we were propping up the stock market also with quantitative easing 4 using the repo markets. We were
Business as
supposed
usual, Albert. Business as usual.
right. So what happens when you basically do, quantitative easing? We basically, have a crap ton of cash injected into the market. So what did these companies do? They ended up buying, doing stock buybacks and boosting up the market that way. This bubble that we're in is kind of so we had quantitative easing 1, 2, and 3 during the Obama administration, which pumped a lot of money into the market. So quantitative easing 4 happened, which technically wasn't labeled quantitative easing 4, is actually done by the nightly repo markets. Look this up, and you'll be educated on this. So when they do that, they lower the Fed interest rates in the background and inject by buying US treasuries. When they do that, when you buy US treasuries, you flood so they buy them from the banks.
What does it have to do with shutdowns and coronavirus?
So this is exactly what happened next. So after this, during the shutdown, stocks did tank a little bit, but it also, like, the people in the Feds caught onto this very quickly. Since we're in a crisis mode, right? It basically enabled them to write a blank check for anyone to like spend via PPPs, loans, and another basically quantitative and a giant stimulus package that is yet to be heard of, $4 trillion. That is open cash to the market. When people got that, and it usually ended up in like big corporations and whatnot, they did more stock buybacks, which caused the market to keep going up. That's literally where we're at. And the market actually wants another shutdown, so we can push another, open check to the Fed can just print more money, and it gets re-injected into the market.
Well, we'll see.
That's exactly what's happening. So during the PPP loans, there you got a whole bunch of companies that didn't even require the loan, and they're getting it. And these loans right now, if you have employees, are complete excuse. Not only that, we also dropped our interest rate to near zero, which is never heard of in history.
Well,
Now,
we haven't filled out the loan forgiveness papers yet. They haven't arrived, so we don't really
right,
know
right.
we don't really know the terms. The accountants don't really know how to book it yet.
So that's coming in alone. Then we right now are trying to get another 1 trillion to 2 trillion, depending if you're Democrat or Republican, doing their bill or whatnot, to inject back into the market again, and we'll see a huge another boost in the market, which is a giant bubble. But you have to remember, factories are closed. Like 45 million people are out of a job, yet our stock market is going up. Like, they're losing income left and right during the financial statements. Like, besides
Why you gotta open up? Why you gotta
so
open up? You gotta open
so
up.
they do have to open up, but does Wall Street really want to open up if they can get another blank check? Not really.
I think they do. Yeah, I think most of America wants to open up. I think the pressure to open up is just
Main Street wants to open up. Wall Street doesn't really give a crap.
In a political year, Main Street has a lot of pressure on Wall Street, and I think as this thing, I'm telling you, it's a pressure cooker. People are really gonna either need some money, or they're gonna need to go back to work. And
Dude, playing
right,
the stock market right now is the
to explode.
funnest thing in the world, because
The right
stocks
is not
only
to
go
explode.
up right now.
The right is not to explode. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, but a lot of people actually like the stock market continuously going up. People are making a crap ton of money. Look at Kodak right now. Kodak got a huge injection. Kodak,
You know why though?
Okay.
Kodak Pharmaceuticals.
Because Andy brought this up to me about Kodak.
They're changing
Kodak
their business model. They're becoming a pharmaceutical manufacturer now.
Yeah, I hear that's the thing though. Is like Kodak has been belly up for what 15 years at least, maybe more. But you have there's a lot of these companies that are going around and buying old like trademarks. So, there's people that did that with Toys R Us. They've done it with like all these defunct companies, and I don't know if like it's, but somebody's making money off of that. Like whether they end up repurposing the company or whatever. But like Kodak emerged after 15 years. Oh, we're a new company now. It's like it had obviously has nothing to do with film. It's like what do they have to do with this? With what they're doing now, it doesn't make sense. There's and I see where Albert's saying, because I tend to agree with him. There is something nefarious going on with people playing with numbers, and I agree with you too, Matt. Because yes, normal everyday Americans, like who are trapped at home, they've either lost their jobs, or like they're just they're trapped in limbo essentially. Yeah, of course, we all want to. We all want to go back to work. We want to have things open back up and life go back to normal. But there's a lot of political and other nefarious people who are like they are earning a lot off of things being shut down. There's a lot of why do you think it is that it's we're gonna have another shutdown? And yes, it is true that there's maybe from people's stupidity or lack of awareness of what's going on with the virus. But honestly, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that don't want to see the America open up, and they want to see this country fail because that's something that they're going to make money off of that.
So back to Robert's point, like I'm trying to say is a lot of Democrats and a lot of Republicans actually want this thing to continue going on because when you have the interest rate go to zero, you have a lot of excess cash when you borrow money, so you don't have to pay such a big interest on it.
Right.
That's why you're seeing a lot of companies get bigger. They're buying other companies right now. Like you're literally seeing Amazon get way bigger than normal. They're creating a whole fleet just to screw over UPS right now because they have extra money to do that. Bigger companies are getting bigger. Monopolies are getting bigger. And let's see. Democrats are loving this because it's literally a spigot of cash just flowing in right now. So both sides are just kind of doing limbo right now, and on purpose.
Yeah, because it's funny because in normal times, just printing currency is a disaster. But when you lower those interest rates, it almost gives these people.
We're gonna have inflation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to have an inflation. That's why I'm totally disagreeing with this.
We always have cycles of this and that. There's always cycles in the economy of inflation rise, inflation fall, crash up, crash down, recovery and create. Variable. If the fundamentals are good, I think we have a good fundamental economy if we can open back up. Pre-corona, I think fundamentally we were doing well. We had a lot of technology, a lot of stuff with solar, Tesla, SpaceX. People were excited about all kinds of cool stuff. I think there's excitement for a good economy and a good future, but we can't do that if we're locked in. So,
quite well.
To unleash America.
America. So here, and I agree with you, but Main Street wants.
Sorry.
Main Street wants to open up. I do not disagree with you at all, and I do want Main Street to open up. But Wall Street, the big company.
There's doctors that aren't really for the full shutdown too. There's doctors that have different opinions.
Well, right, but Main Street, big companies actually like this shutdown. They love it. They're making so much money doing this. It gives them actually, and this is where okay, Trump, he's human. He sins. We all have to agree that we have to put him off a little pedestal just for a little bit. Okay, he has some issues with like most people, they like girls. And
that was like 5 years ago.
No, he's not a god. He's not perfect. That's what my point is.
Who said that?
No one.
I
I
don't think anybody's
How dare you speak ill of God Trump?
Right. So
God
also loves money, and if this thing is I can drag this on a little bit, he gets a little bit more money as cash. I don't know, fault him.
Wait, but he's trying not to drag it, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Huh? He's trying not to drag it, right?
The guy that donates his salary? You mean that guy?
Yeah, not really. He's
not. He's personally donated money to other charities. No, I don't really buy that, Albert. I think that's a bullshit argument.
No, he's actually trying to dude. Every time
it's a bullshit argument. I don't buy it.
Why do you think he's doing the whole TikTok thing right now? It's actually right now it does help. Every time there's trouble, he can reallocate money to other places. So during the tariffs, what happened was a lot of farmers, a lot of crops can't get sold. The U.S. was the number one pork exporter. U.S. wasn't buying it. Soybeans so they were all going to waste. What did Trump get to do? He got another open check to give to farmers and stuff.
Kind of funny that a pandemic right after they signed a huge trade deal with China. Kind of interesting timing, right?
Right.
Ink's barely dry, and then a pandemic breaks out.
Right, and then right now we're going back at it.
There's legal catches. There's legal catches in those trade deals where if there's a pandemic, you're released from this obligation, blah blah blah. So a lot of people are very suspicious of CCP,
but
for a good reason.
But if you look at current administration's efforts to cause, some people want to say redirection of attention, but really is to cause a little bit of havoc, so that you can push for more funding in certain areas, and that's exactly what tends to happen. when there's chaos,
Well,
he
that's
can
a
use it as leverage.
huge accusation that you'd have to have some evidence for.
Right, but like that's literally what's happening right now. Because usually
but
Congress would be like,
you-
I'm not going to approve a bill, but when you have farmers complaining to their constituents, like we need the funding, money goes. You got if it was normal times right now and there's no coronavirus, we couldn't pass a $4 trillion stimulus package.
I don't think they would need the stimulus package if there wasn't a corona. So I don't know.
Yeah, but Trump is all about getting money back into the market, which is not really a bad thing if you are in the stock market.
Well, he's also into opening up. We got Democratic governors, Democrat mayors that are. What can you do as a federal when you have states have power, states have rights, states have jurisdiction. Governors want to shut down, mayors want to shut down, they're shut down.
Right.
I have to go to Arizona and they get all masks off, have a great time, then come back to California. Oh, masks on in California.
Right.
Like.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but
it's not this whole thing we're going by science is such crap now. Nobody believes a word they freaking say. They've lost so much credibility in their reporting of their numbers and all their data and all their stupid curves. Like seriously, the public is fed up with the bureaucrats. And they get on TV, and the ones in LA get on TV and talk about like blah blah blah. It's really really pathetic. People are really 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 pissed. And we're basically just waiting because we're in lockdown. What can we do? We can't really,
Right, but again, stock market, Wall Street loves this right now. Free money.
I don't know. We'll see. It's not that. That's a temporary thing. So.
Oh, it's another $1 trillion gets.
Yeah, but look, what's the point of them taking some government federal money if in 6 months from now the economy's freaking crashed because everybody's poor and all the businesses are closed down? Then these big corporations are suddenly like don't have the backbone the structural backbone that they had before. That's just a stupid way to go about it.
If they get a couple $1 trillion printed for them, I don't think they really care.
It's not going to happen.
Well, but the other thing too, Matt, is like a lot of these companies, are not America first. They're global companies now. Like Amazon is not just a U.S. company like it was back in like 98, whatever. Like when I first started, Amazon has become this global entity. Like a lot of these other big companies that are swallowing up a lot of these companies that are going belly up at this time. Like the places that
open up. Yeah, you got to open up, or these big companies are just going to get bigger and bigger. Because they're the ones that can handle.
But like what I'm saying is like you're talking more about like how with like the U.S. It's like, oh well, they're not going to have anybody else to really deal with. It's they're not going to have many customers. They're not thinking about the United States. They're thinking globally. Globally, like they're going to do fine. Like if it's because a lot of there's other rich countries that they're gonna be fine. The people that are gonna and so they're fine with a shutdown because they're gonna make money. They're gonna keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they honestly they don't care about you, Matt. They don't care about me either. They're caring about power. It's a power grab. That's what it is.
I know, but I don't think they foresee the economic impact of this whole Corona thing that's coming. That's probably going to come.
A lot of these guys are
maybe a few months later, or maybe even a year later, when it all kind of fleshes out and you realize how much people have spent all their savings and how much in the financial situation they are in. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same world. So whatever they're planning.
Well, I understand. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but why do you think it is that these companies have all of a sudden gone very woke in like the last number of years, and how like they're being very politically connected, they're very politically correct? Is because all these like a lot of the government officials, the bureaucrats who are like they're fine with this.
You're talking about globalism now, right? Globalists.
But that's what it's becoming. That's where
So you think our president lies when he says he's not a globalist?
No, I don't think he's lying with that. Like, he's probably like one of the few people that in our government that isn't a globalist.
Albert, you think Trump's a globalist?
He is making a lot of money.
No, is he a globalist? Is he a globalist? Is he lying, saying that he's America first? Is he a globalist?
I'm not too sure what his whole agenda is right now.
Oh, okay. So you don't believe what he says? Like, if he says that he does this and he says that, you don't believe him?
Well, he kind of says a lot of stuff. He goes like, I'm going to nuke you, North Korea, and then next thing he's best friends with them. So what is his deal?
He's actually, if you look at his promises made, promises kept list, it's long. He made a lot of campaign promises.
I agree with you. I don't.
He's blown people away with his promises made, promises kept.
Right, but then I'm just trying to say is that I don't know his agenda and I don't know what he's doing sometimes, because sometimes he is acting in totally like awesomeness, and then other times I'm like, dude, okay, so we were at the brink of going on a full-on war with North Korea, and I was like, sweet, and then all of a sudden he's now like shaking hands with them and best friends, and I'm just like, well, what's going on? Like, what is your agenda? I don't know what his agenda is, and I don't know.
His agenda is eventual denuclearization of North Korea, and in the meantime, peace. We haven't had war.
Do you really think Kim Jong-un is going to actually do jack? He's like the freaking biggest liar in the world.
He hasn't. No, he hasn't done anything though. He hasn't done anything since.
Exactly.
Right. So it's working.
No, he's still throwing a little.
He's gotten farther than any other American president. Made a lot more effort than any other American president in the last 25 years with North Korea. So that's huge. I mean, they've got some serious sanctions and some serious deals on the table, and more pressure than ever. Do you think Obama didn't do anything with North Korea? He just let them be, and then China, he let them grow, let them be, and and I mean, I don't see why you're not giving him credit for trying.
No, I'm giving
major effort. He stepped foot into North Korea.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not extremely diplomatic. First of all,
I'm not giving him credit. I'm just trying to answer you basically why, like, I don't know his agenda, because like 1 minute he'll say this thing, a minute he's gonna bargain another way. I don't know his agenda. That's just basically what I'm trying to say to you. I'm not saying he's bad or this. That's where I'm feeling that you're interpreting that. But no, I'm just explaining to you, I don't know what he's thinking.
He's thinking denuclearization of North Korea. It's probably next to impossible, but that's the goal. That's the pressure. That's the goal, is get rid of your nukes and we'll help you grow and maybe build some hotels on your coastline and get you some tourists and get some South Koreans up there to eat your moonnaengmyeon, that kind of thing.
Right. And like I said,
remember the video? He tried to paint them a picture.
Yeah. I understand, but like,
if you just decide to be a cool world player, like play by like some UN rules and be like a normal country, and then maybe you could have a prosperous country. They're trying to sell them that, and we'll help you if you just get rid of nukes.
Right, but like what I'm trying to say is that he's playing chess, and whenever he says something, it can be one thing, and then in a minute he's actually just setting up another piece somewhere else. Like, that's what I'm saying. I can't read him.
But he's revealed the end goal. The end goal is denuclearization of North Korea. Right. They said that from the very beginning. Like, that's the goal, is denuclearization of North Korea. How are we going to get there? And that's what they're working towards.
Well, I think I'm a little confused, like, Albert, about, like, when you say that you can't, like, read him or his moves, like, when at first he said, like, when you said that, he was going to blow him out of, he was going to make basically North Korea into a parking lot, and then, he makes peace with them. I think Trump has been more or less, upfront about his goals, is to put America first, and to ensure its prosperity, even if that means, like, if some other country gets prosperity. Right. So I'm just like, I'm not sure why you said that you can't read him, or you don't understand, like, why he's doing certain moves, like saying one thing and doing another. when the whole point of of Trump's Trump's mandate is basically to rebuild America.
Right. No, the thing was that he made it seem like he was just gonna blow them up, which is not bad. And then at the same time, all of a sudden we're now, which actually hurt a lot of people because they kind of just didn't want like this guy to get any credit. So what I'm talking about the Kim Jong Un, like to be like to validate him, and but so he says that, so people are like, okay, we're going to go to war with him, but then we're not going to war with him.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm
Isn't
saying.
that a
He
good
shot
thing?
missiles over Japan, though. He shot missiles that went over the island of Japan. So if he adjusted the trajectory, he could have literally just destroyed Tokyo. So they had to step up and actually go to the table.
I mean,
start
if you think about it, Trump is the only president who hasn't started a new war.
He had the saber rattle.
Right, and that's totally cool too. But I'm just saying, like at this time, like Kim Jong Un recently was doing his old saber rattling again and firing missiles again.
I believe that Pyongyang would have been flattened. I mean, I was convinced that it could have been if they really did cross the line. If they threw a nuke, or not a nuke, even just a missile into Seoul, you would have seen Pyongyang Palace and bam, flat. I really believe it would happen. So I think when Trump made those threats via tweets, I think when he made those threats, that they, I think they were valid. I think the government of North Korea looked at those threats, looked at Trump saying, this guy's kind of unpredictable. He might just do it. Look at that Moab he dropped in Afghanistan or whatever, do you want that dropped on your palace, on your head? He will do it. So I think actually his threats were somewhat valid. I think he's got the military behind him. He's got Pompeo as Secretary of State. He's got generals that are working with him. He doesn't have. It's not like Obama, where generals wanted to do things that were tactically good for America, but Obama actually told them to stand down or pull the plug on the thing. And generals quit because they just were disgusted they couldn't work for Obama. You don't have that in Trump's administration. You got agreement between the White House, the Secretary of State, and the military.
Matt, I'm going to pause you right there.
Yeah.
And that's literally why I brought this example up. It's because you just stated what I was trying to use this example as, is that he is unpredictable.
No, he projects unpredictability. But we know his goal. No, but he projects unpredictability to his enemies or to his rivals, like political rivals or even foreign nations. But he tells Americans what his goal is. But then foreign leaders are like, well, we've never seen a president with balls like this. And we're like, yes, American balls, finally, not wimpy ass Obama. Or on the take Clinton.
Right. But even when he's telling us,
John, we got NATO to cough up more money. We cut off WHO. We said, WHO, fuck you. We're not going to pay you $40 million a year anymore.
Right.
I mean, it's been a long time since America's had balls.
Right.
So when you say he's unpredictable, I think he projects unpredictability as part of his tactic, as part of his strategy. I don't think that he doesn't have a good solid plan, and I think he does get good wise counsel, but I think his methods are unpredictable just out of strategy.
Right, and that's kind of why I'm bringing it back right now, is because he's projecting a lot of this unpredictability. Is sometimes it makes it hard for us to kind of understand what he's actually trying to achieve in certain aspects of stuff.
Listen to him. Not if you listen to his own speeches and his own talk. I mean, if you listen to his own speeches, he tells you exactly what he's thinking, exactly what he's doing. It's just the media doesn't report it. You have to actually watch his speeches. You have to watch his press conferences. You have to watch his speeches that he gives for like an hour, 45 minutes to a crowd or rally or something. He lays it out. He tells you exactly what he's thinking, what his whole plan is. But then the media, if you watch CNN, MSNBC, they'll distort it and say that he's, I mean, they come with the wackiest lines. I don't know how to get it. But he basically, if you listen to him unfiltered, he tells you what his plan is. And then he does it. And then he goes about it like he's strategic. He's like a boxer, bobbing and weaving as he's going about it. But he's already told us what his plan is. So all this making of the sausage, we're not that concerned about it. He's like, I'm making some sausage. It'll be really good. And I'm like, okay. And then like we're watching him make the sausage. People are freaking out. Oh my god, he's putting pickles in the sausage. I'm like, well, I told you. Hold on, it's gonna be good. So like we're freaking out because they don't understand his methods, but it doesn't mean that he's not good. Doesn't mean they don't work. It's just you've never had. It's been a long time since we've had a politician like this. If ever, he's groundbreaking record. We've never had a politician like this in a long time. A non-career politician that just came out of the blue, a businessman, a civilian, no political experience ever, never was even a mayor, not even a city council member, comes straight into the presidency.
Right.
And the economy boomed, and unemployment went down, and things were great, and we got respect around the world, and we where's the ISIS caliphate? Gone,
Right.
Put major pressure on Iran. We're tearing up the Iran crap deal. We said fuck you to the climate deal in Paris. This is awesome. It's fucking awesome.
America.
Yeah. But here's where okay, so now he's predictable. But then he did say back in the day that he is going to prop up the stock market. He'll make it keep going up.
Oh, okay, good. I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the way he's doing it, is pumping a crap ton of money into it.
Okay. Well, we got to open back up, though. That's for sure. Because all these things nothing will be sustainable if we don't open back up. Some economists have actually calculated like a breaking point of America. If they don't open up at a certain point, it may never really recover.
But these companies
are going to play this game of chicken.
Right, but most of these companies are all open right now. Google isn't shut down. Amazon is shut down.
Millions and millions and millions of Americans with small businesses that are about to start screaming.
Well, they have been screaming, but a lot of them are also kind of like, they got free loans, so they're just kind of like whatever so far.
Not really, no. There's a lot of landlords that haven't gotten their rent. There's an eviction moratorium. The extra EDD money bonus stuff ran out. Hasn't been replaced. They can't strike a deal. Now kids are back in school, so parents have to homeschool now. And then you're going to have a real problem with like parents going back to. There's a big problem in at least LA County. I hear about it with kids. What are they going to do with the kids that parents have to go back to school, but there's no daycare available? They're creating day camps out here. Like drop your kid off and
right.
It's not even school. It's just day camp because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They can't figure out how to open schools and let people go back to work.
Yeah,
so
but
it's like a mezzanine thing of like, well, just go to work, drop your kid off, and we'll hope they don't get photographed and molested and all that.
No, I agree with you. We do need to open up, but like right now, Wall Street doesn't give a crap. That's just Main Street problems. Wall Street problems are doing just fine.
Yeah.
And
I think, it can't go on for much longer.
Well, why are red state governors want to open up and blue state governors want to shut down if Wall Street wants to stay shut down? Why is there a difference between political party and like shutdowns versus openings?
Because a lot of them are connected, Matt. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's insane. There's a lot of people within our government who are not there to serve the United States or their constituency. They're there to serve themselves and at whatever cost necessary. Like I constantly talk about this with Andy. It's like the media, a lot of our government class, a lot of these big corporations, they don't care about us. They're not your friends.
Like different governors of different states. That's what I'm talking about.
But I'm just saying, a lot of these guys are not our friends. Like yes, there are some good people there, but like for the most part, like they're very self-serving, and they will sell you. They'll sell you out in a heartbeat. Did they create this pandemic? No, but they're damn sure going to take advantage of it.
As long as Main Street shut down, you have no choice but to buy from Amazon.
Yeah, guilty.
And these are big corporations.
No,
I love
I
it.
think I mean, I'll admit it. I've been buying a lot of stuff from
Yeah.
Amazon.
And then
I'm part of the problem.
and then they love it. And also, Wall Street has spoken. They choose Trump.
No, this election can't be over fast enough. I'm
I
telling
know,
you, there'll be a major change in the coronavirus approach once this election's over.
Right, but like I said, Wall Street has chosen Trump, hands down. And when Biden was speaking, the market, after market, was actually slightly dropping because they were afraid. And it went back up.
The Democrats have destroyed this economy. The Democrats have destroyed this economy. If Biden was elected, this economy really would get really fucked up. This whole like single payer healthcare, crazy ass stuff that they would do, the money they would spend would be just ridiculous.
But here's the go ahead. But here's the bigger problem. This is where I love the whole printing money at first, but now we're getting to a point where I'm generally scared because what's going to happen is we're not just going to have a inflation problem. We're going to have a currency crisis problem.
Yeah.
We're gonna become Venezuela.
Yeah, we'll have to borrow more money from China then. That's what the Democrats would do.
Well, there's a really fascinating discussion on the fall of the Roman Empire from a guy named Stephen Molyneux, and a lot of what happened to at the end of the Roman Empire is kind of like what's happening here. It's like it was a like I said, a currency crisis. I mean, where for like the silver that they were using, it's like they were like it was worthless, and if you didn't have gold, you know, like they wouldn't take your money. And a lot of the same issues that they were having back then towards the end is exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah, no, America's in late stage, empire mode.
Yeah, and right now all these policies that we're passing is allowing the Fed just to keep printing money. Not only that, I mean, Trump wants negative interest rates. Just literally just pushing it further.
Yeah. That's one thing where I'm genuinely, because there's, like I said, there's a lot that Trump has done that I've really liked. This is the thing that genuinely concerns me, and with all of our politicians, because you keep talking about like all this deficit spending and it's not billions, it's trillions of dollars of debt, and it's like, yeah, I think we are beyond fucked at this point.
Yeah.
If we don't, and it's like, and but then you hear about all these stories. We're giving billions of dollars to this country. We're essentially funding the UN. We're doing this. We're doing that. It's like, stop it. Like, especially now during this pandemic, it's like all that shit should stop. Like, we don't need to be giving $500 million a year to Planned Parenthood. We don't need to be giving $6 billion to fucking Saudi Arabia or all these countries that don't give two fucks about us, or it's like, what are we getting out of it? And we're giving our government essentially $4 trillion in taxes every year, and where is it going to? Social Security that the five of us are never going to see in our lifetime. Like, it's gone. It's a Ponzi scheme that is just, we're at the end of it, and we're not going to receive anything from that. And we've spent for our entire working life, how much of our money has gone to the government?
And even worse right now is they're pushing for if inflation kicks in, anybody that saved just got screwed because your money just devalued into almost nothing, which is the greatest transfer of like wealth ever to big banks and everything, which is happening right now. And if that is not enough, let's tap into the current the income tax break that he's trying to push right now. That literally will just tap into Social Security that's coming up next. Just get that money out too, so it gets into the open market, which ends up probably going to the stocks, or shall I call stonks?
Yeah.
And if you look at like Tesla, that's just like Bitcoin status right now. Like, it's gone up to like, let's see, it's worth more than GM and Ford combined times 6.
Jesus.
and that's just getting continuously pumped up.
Yeah. I saw some really. Have you seen the complaints about some of their models that they're I don't know. I think they're losing quality control.
No, they are. They're building. Which car manufacturing builds their car intense?
Yeah.
And Elon Musk just says a whole bunch of random crap that don't make sense, and like it's really bizarre. But that right now, like he's kissing up to Trump like no tomorrow because he wants to get all the contracts for Space Force.
Why not? Yeah, why not?
No, but we can't do this anymore because they're driving up a big, humongous fraud that's gonna eventually explode. So many people are gonna lose their money.
That's Tesla.
Yeah, but we're giving money to Kodak that doesn't even know like pharmaceuticals at all. Like
they're just restructuring.
Although I heard that that deal.
They're not
that
taking
deal
people
fell
who used
through.
to develop like.
yeah, because now they're getting investigated for like what the F. Like you should give it to Amgen or something that actually has experience in this stuff.
I think they probably approached Amgen first, and Amgen said, "Fuck you, we don't like your terms." That's what happened. I mean, and they didn't just pull Kodak out of the blue, like, "Oh, this is pick up old company random. There we go, Kodak. Let's make it pharmaceuticals." They've been negotiating with these other companies for months over this whole stuff. Some of these companies don't want to play ball because it's not worth it for them. You know, it's just they don't. It's not worth them to come out of pocket for the research and this to do for what? Be a hero? They're like, no, it's not worth it.
No, they didn't have to do any research. It's literally retooling stuff to make generic drugs, which is already out there, all the formulas and
No,
stuff.
I mean like research for infrastructure for expanding their company, like just the whole hows and whys and whens, legals and all that stuff. Maybe
Yeah,
and they just don't like the terms,
Yeah, but
maybe the government wanted to have a little finger in it, or a little bit of control over it, and maybe they didn't like the terms. Maybe it's not. Maybe even the money would have been great, but they didn't like the terms.
right, it's a whole bunch of maybes. But then at the same time, like from a company that has no experience, and wouldn't it cost even more to do this?
Yeah, I mean I really think that's I thought that was a very bizarre day when they announced that. I was like, Kodak Pharmaceuticals. This sounds so like Willy Wonka,
But like you're still seeing this, like the pumps are like beyond belief. Like Apple's now a $2 trillion company.
Not quite yet. No,
like almost there. Yeah,
yeah. They
but that's still broken. And Amazon's just continuously like exploding.
They're the corporations that you're never going to get under control. They're international. They're in China. They're all over the place. They're huge financial monsters. I mean, it is what it is at this point. It just is what it is. So that's why I think a lot of people are kind of like, you know what? It's in this globalist world. Why don't we try to protect America a little longer before our Constitution gets torn up? And I mean, that's it. It's all gonna sort of just. If you're talking about Rome, guys, you're talking about the fall of Rome. Well, you want to admit that we do have kind of a global economy in a way. So if you're talking about a fall of Rome and you're trying to say America is the Rome, no. At this point, the whole world is Rome. So if Rome falls, the world falls. I mean, you can't just say like kind of like America would fall like Rome, but the rest of the world is going to just like keep trucking on like everything's cool. You have this giant land mass inhabited by formerly 300 million people. It's just like a vacant parking lot. No, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's more when a currency crisis hits, it would be you'll see the whole market collapse.
But I'm saying affect globally. London will close.
Oh yeah, of course. And do you know what happened? Do you know what happened after 1929, after the market crashed, and after a while we got, wars.
There will major wars, like huge empire, giant coalition.
Do you know how they spawned out though?
Well, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean?
Like where did Hitler come from, and where did Stalin suddenly pop up? It was because there's a huge void, and they're like, dude, our economy blew up because of capitalism. They just
in Russia, there was a huge void because they killed the royal party.
Yeah, but Europe
revolution, that wasn't just like a void.
Right, but people wanted hope.
Guys, Yeah, let's wind it in a little bit.
Hey,
Yeah, it's been like 2 hours. Right?
I know, guys. I know you guys were just getting on, but we're getting off a little bit off the topic, and I think since we wandered into strange waters, I think the main topic has been talked to death. But
Yeah.
let's wrap things up. I mean, Albert, if you want, I'll give you last word to
Oh no, I'm really happy that we finally got Albert on. Glad he's feeling better. Kind of giving a little bit of a different perspective. And honestly, like I found myself that I'm kind of in agreement with Albert. I might be in the minority in our group here, but he what he's saying is makes sense. And honestly, it's a lot of the things that I thought about too. It's like it's just he's looking at the data in a very calm and collected manner, and we can be smart about what's going on. And also, but there's a lot of people that are pushing a different agenda and pushing sensationalism, especially in this country. And yeah, it's a rough time, but I'm very optimistic that because I'm a believer, so I think that good things are going to happen. That this virus is not going to kill us. That we will recover, and despite my rants against the world order that is, but yeah, no, it's I found myself being in agreement with Albert. I'm really happy he came on and kind of shared his thoughts.
James. Do you have anything to add before we wrap things up?
I mean, like practically speaking, makes sense. I guess I didn't really care that much about wearing a mask in public,
Mhm.
but honestly, it's just because I don't want to deal with people giving me crap. So I just go in and out. It's whatever, man. I've been training, with Matt. I've been okay. I know that old and pre-existing condition people are affected the most, but yeah, in the hospitals I work, it's dead empty. We barely have any COVID cases. I don't know, it's because we're in a small hospital, but I mean, I think we all agree, like Matt was saying, the economy's got to open up, dude. Like, can't go on like this. Something's got to give, dude. Like, I don't know, man.
Gotta be.
I think it's inevitable. I think most people are gonna get it, dude.
Matt,
So
any last words?
No, I just want this election to be over soon because I think things are being a lot of political stuff.
Uh,
I mean, I
I'm in
agree that
agreement.
we did have to. I agree. I was on board with flatten the curve. I understood the nature of the incoming pandemic virus, and that was March 15th. And by April 15th, even into like May 15th, it was like okay. And then it was just like suddenly it was George Floyd. It was protests. It was everything just went crazy. You had like thousands of people in the streets, and all the data just got thrown out the window because nobody. I mean, all the protocols were just lost.
that was crazy, dude.
And then it got stories of people like whose family members died in the hospital from non-COVID related issues, and the hospital were offering them kickback money if they would.
Yeah.
Your family member died from COVID. We'll give you $5,000 if you, because the hospitals were getting money from the government for COVID deaths. So there's so much possible corruption with the numbers and the money and the data. Who knows?
Man jumps out of airplane without a parachute and dies of COVID-19. Yeah.
So
Yeah, Albert.
there's dying from and dying with.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Wait,
How often?
right before we get to Albert,
How
what
often
about you,
those two?
Andy?
Huh?
Before we get to Albert, what about you?
I'm sure they tested dead bodies. They tested dead bodies. Like he's gonna test it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, yeah, I always reserve the right to be wrong, and I always go by an axiom which goes, I may be wrong, but I'm not lying. So whatever I'm not so whatever I put forth, or whatever I test to believe to be true, that's what I believe to be true. I'm not trying to mislead. I'm not trying to harm. It's just what I'm putting out to. Uh, that's just what I put out as I see it, or as I believe it to be. But I'm always open to new information. I think Albert, you definitely offered us a different perspective. Yeah, I think a little less, something with that's uh, kind of maybe a little less passionate, or it's a dispassionate view of the situation, which is always welcome. Um, but also, I full-heartedly believe in the right to someone to act within their own interest or even act like an idiot. Um, it's because what is it? What is it? What's that? Well, it's a tribute to George Washington, but this quote that goes, it be an unwise and unjust jealousy to deprive a man of his liberty on the basis that he might abuse it. So
America's a different kind of country. Even
I know, because like everyone, yeah, because like the whole,
yeah.
because like a lot of things, like a lot of people were hitting me with like, oh, Japan wears masks or Korea wears masks. It's like, and like that, there was like this one tweet where this guy was, this Korean guy, and he was saying that, oh, when you go to Korea, you have to be quarantined, and then you have to wear an ankle monitor, and you basically all this like authoritarian like monitoring, and it's just like, and he to cap it off, he's like saying like, oh, well, at this point we have to treat everyone as if we have, everyone has the sickness, and it's just like, that's, to my American ears, I
Ugh.
couldn't abide by that.
And those like those Chinese QR codes were creepy. Albert, did you see all those like QR codes and
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
green screen check-in things? I mean, like all the contact tracing QR code stuff is mandatory.
Yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, this like the overreach was what like was really, and like kind of in like this, yeah, like adopting the mindset was like, oh, where everyone's a threat or everyone is guilty until proven innocent. It's just
You
like,
gotta chip everyone. Everyone's gotta be chipped with the GPS. You gotta know where you are at all
yeah,
times.
exactly.
Your heartbeat,
Yeah. So
Right.
the overreach is what worried me the most. But,
Right.
yeah, Albert, your last words.
I'm just looking at all different angles right now, and I'm just looking at what worked in other countries, and I just want to get out of this as soon as possible because I'm like bored out of my mind right now, and I want to go back to. And I agree with
Yeah.
Matt. Like, what is the best solution right now to get everything back open? And right now, I'm seeing other countries. The thing that they're using is honestly, they were wearing masks and teaching the people how to use it correctly,
They were
and we get
wearing
out of this fast. We're just
yeah.
completely, they're completely out of this fast. And
They were
they're like,
wearing early too. They were wearing
yeah,
masks when our officials were telling us don't wear masks.
yeah,
Remember when they were telling us not to wear masks unless you're caring for an infected patient?
right,
But other countries at that time, Korea, they were all masked up.
right,
I can go back to all my chats and all that stuff around that
right,
time. I was yelling at everything, going,
right,
if we're praising Korea's approach, because they're like, look at Korea's doing so well. We're gonna we're gonna use the Korean model. They said we're gonna use the Korean model, and I'm
right,
like, but you're leaving out the mask part.
right. And they,
The Korean model includes everybody wearing a mask. My mother-in-law lives there. The government gave out free masks to everybody. You didn't have to buy them. You just go to the pharmacy and they give you your mask. It's like,
that's the
they
point.
already take care of
And
that.
the minute they wore it, none of their hospitals got filled. None of them. None of them.
But in that time, that crucial time between like the beginning of like end of February and the beginning of March, if we were all masked up, we probably
We never even needed to shut down.
we could have
Period.
knocked this thing in half. Yeah,
Yes.
but that was the time they said don't wear masks. When
Right.
they were saying we're going to follow the Korean model, but the Korean model and all the Chinese, all the Asian countries were all masked up. But you know what? It's because we didn't have masks. And the hospitals were scared that their nurses aren't going to have PPE. And so they said, fuck the public. Just, they lied to us, though. They could have said, like, but you know what, though? We would have just been started hoarding.
Yeah. But then once they lied,
Okay, so they chose, like, okay, tell them the truth. They might hoard the mask, or lie to them, and they'll think they don't need them. I mean,
so,
that's what pissed me off. They basically lied to us to psychologically manipulate us to think we didn't need them, and then when we needed them, they said go out and buy them, but they're all sold out.
and then after that, not only they lied to us, then they started to scare the crap out of us. And that's like I said about the death thing. That's what I'm saying. I'm not arguing about the death thing. I'm just saying the hospitals overfilled because people weren't wearing masks and everybody's catching it. And they're flooding the hospitals. If everybody wore masks, the hospitals would have been fine. Everything would have been fine.
You know, if my wife wasn't Korean, I may not have had masks early on because we were like delayed in the notice of getting masks, and by the time we went to Home Depot or whatever, they're all sold out. Online sold out. But my wife had already ordered some like 2 weeks earlier because she had heard from Korea that everybody's wearing masks. So boom, we get this big thing of masks in the mail, and like, it's like she's like, "You want to thank me?" I'm like, "Yeah."
This is the first time I had to completely disregard our news sources and even their CDC and stuff, and I had to look at other countries to get
First time.
better
I don't know what
information.
you're doing, Albert, but you should have disregarded them a long time ago.
I was so mad at the surgeon.
Let's just wind things down. Let me just wrap things up here, guys, and you can go on with your conversations. Well, that's the episode for you this time. I hope you were informed. I hope you were challenged. I hope your perspective was your perspective was challenged in some way, and maybe
Shattered.
your mind opened up a little bit, or maybe it closed a little bit, but that's on you, not me. That'll do it for us tonight. Thank you. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows we have. We have the Circle of Jerks main podcast. We have our live stream that me and Robert do every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. ish, where we talk about the things going on in the news. We also do a movie review. But luckily for us, that we do old movie reviews. So right now it's not so much a problem. So because we're not spending money, or since there's no movies going on, we.
Andy, what are theaters? I don't know anymore.
I know what exactly.
I want to suggest an old movie for you to review. Do you know the movie entitled Class, starring Rob Lowe from the mid '80s?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. It's actually pretty good. It's a well-made movie, but it's got some really interesting themes you could really riff on.
All right.
Okay.
All right. We'll add it to the list.
Class. Yeah.
All right. Don't forget to check out our social media accounts: Twitter @podcastcoj, Instagram @CircleOfJerksPodcast, and Letterboxd @podcastcoj.
All right.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll do it again some other time.
Peace.
Yeah.
Later.